Jazz Thornton became the 2021 Young Kiwi of the Year for a good reason. She has been a beacon of hope and positivity for Kiwis since her video, Dear Suicidal Me, went globally viral when she was 21. Since then, she's made films, written books, and been a staunch mental health activist bringing hope, health, and love to our young people. Last week, the government announced a bill that would ban social media for under 16s. It's gone into the biscuit tin. Now, having survived many suicide attempts as a young teenager, you might think Jazz would be in favour of that ban. Spoiler alert, she isn't. Hi, Jazz. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me on the effin' news.
Good morning. Hi.
You're out there doing the mahi right now, aren't you? You're out visiting schools, helping make our kids safe. Where are you? What have you been doing?
We're in Hawke's Bay at the moment, doing a whole bunch of school talks. We've got 11, I think, across 4 days. So it's been busy, but we absolutely love it.
Yeah, well, thank you for making time for us. And Jazz, you are obviously one of New Zealand's, if not New Zealand's biggest TikTok influencer. You know a lot about social media, both its good and its harms. You spend so much time with our young people. What do you think of the proposed ban on social media until the age of 16 put forward by Christopher Luxon and the Before 16 group? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it is not thought through and it's going to be very ineffective. There's just not enough evidence on the fact that a ban will work. As someone who is actively on the ground with these kids, we just did a survey recently with 71% of kids saying that they're just going to access it anyway. And I think it just comes down to a lack of education, and parents are scared, rightfully so, but a blanket ban is going to cause so much harm to our most vulnerable kids that are out there. And I don't think it's the way to go. I think there's a lot more other options we can be looking at other than a blanket ban. Blanket bans don't work. It's not working as someone who's in a school right now. Most of the kids have phones in their pockets. So we did a blanket ban of phones in schools. They all have them. They're just sneaking them around. And that's exactly what's going to happen with social media. Kids are going to go underground. They're going to sneak their age. That's what they're all saying. And so I think we need to be talking to and listening to young people in this and not just telling them what we want to do.
Okay, so a lot to go through there, but you just think that the ban just will not work, and therefore I guess you're saying the ban should not go ahead. The government should forget about it.
I think they should forget about the ban. I think absolutely we should be looking at restrictions. We should be looking at resource into education. I think a blanket ban is going to allow the government to go, see, we did it, but it's not, the kids are going to access it and it's going to push it underground in secret, which is not what we want. So no, I don't think that the ban should go ahead.
And the other thing you mentioned there is it could affect vulnerable children and young people. To explain a bit more about that the ban could have a negative effect. Is that what you're saying?
100%. We've done a survey of young people, which I haven't seen anyone that has been putting forward this ban actually actively talking to young people. And in our research that we did, there's a whole bunch of kids from the rainbow community, from minority groups that credit being literally alive to social media, finding community, people who don't have necessarily safe home lives, who can find other people with hope stories on social media. There's been kids that say that they would not be here if it wasn't for that. And that doesn't take away from the harm and the risk of social media. But I just don't think that the positive side of it and the things that it is providing to our young people, as someone who receives thousands of messages from your kids across this country saying how much that their lives have been saved or impacted, or kids have found hope literally on the schoolyard right now. Kids will come up and say, I chose to stay, or I chose to ask for help. Those are the kids that we are then going to say, we're taking away one of the very few free resources that we have in this country. When you have a mental health system that's as broken as this, and you take away something where kids can access resource and information, I just think so much more needs to be looked at and assessed, because I think we're going to lose more kids from something like this, rather than taking an educational approach and say, how do we protect them while also empowering them in a world that is forever growing. Social media is not going anywhere. And so I think we have to learn how to live with it and better equip parents on how to deal with it.
Okay, so Jazz, you're saying we could lose more kids. We're talking about lives here, aren't we? We could lose kids to suicide because of the ban. Is that what you're saying, Jazz Thornton?
It is. It is. Let me tell you this, Patty. I cannot tell you the amount of emails that I have had, and I'll quote one from a parent who told me that their 15-year-old daughter was planning on taking her own life. She went onto social media to message her best friends goodbye, and on her newsfeed was one of the videos that our organisation had done. She watched that. She chose in that moment to stay, went to her mum's room, told her everything about the bullying going on at school, and that she was able to get her daughter into counselling. And that mum says, my daughter would not be alive if it wasn't for that. And that is literally one of thousands of messages that not just us, but, we've got organisations like Youthline that also are putting out content that is saving young people's lives rather than they don't have access to it every day in school. We can reach people at their lowest being able to use social media. And I just don't think that's something that's even acknowledged in the fight for the ban.
Okay, so this kid you're talking about, that's a kid who's under 16 and has used social media effectively to stop themselves from committing suicide. Is that what you're saying? Someone under 16?
Yes, yes, and that is one story of literally thousands. At pretty much every single school we go to, there are so many kids under the age of 16 who will tell us that they chose to stay. Tell my co-founder Genevieve, her stories with an eating disorder, that they were able to see that they could in fact find recovery. There were so many people that have chosen to ask for help because they've realized that they're not alone through the stories that we're telling, because we can tell these hope-filled, non-glamorized stories now, whereas back in the day it was only the media kind of glamorized lifestyles that we were seeing. And so yes, a lot of these kids are alive because they are able to access and see stories of hope.
And I guess an argument against that would be that, was it the social media that has, brought about the bullying and that kind of thing in the first place, though? That would be the counter argument. I see you shaking your head.
Eddie, was there bullying when you were in school?
Yes, there was.
Yes, bullying has existed for a really long time, and it's yes, social media is a new way. It's a new form of which people are able to access it. The core issue has not changed, and also the fact that people are saying that all of our mental health statistics is because of social media. That makes me so mad, because you are minimizing every other issue that this country has. From, we've got really high abuse rates, we've got poverty rates, we've got bullying happening on the grounds of school. Yes, social media has a part to play, but the statistics that are being used by the group petitioning this are completely taken out of context. And I think being able to equip parents better when it comes to bullying on social media, and making clearer laws as well in regards to the stuff that schools can do, because we're in no man's land if it happens outside of school. Then the school are struggling to be able to do anything about it. So yeah, I think that when you come to a blanket ban like that, again, kids are going to access social media, they're going to then do it in secret, and then bullying will happen and they're going to be too scared to tell anyone. Yeah.
So what is your message then directly to the Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, and to the Before 16 group? What do you say to them, Jazz Thornton?
Christopher Luxon, if you go ahead with this ban, you will once again be putting some of our most vulnerable rangatahi in our country at risk. At the moment, you have a health system that is not working. You have a mental health system that is failing our young people. And when they can access free resources, they can access community. We are hearing story after story. I will personally send you thousands of messages from teenagers in our country who have chosen to ask for help and chosen to stay because of social media. You cannot wipe your hands of this and say, I've done this ban, we've done what we can. Invest into education, help parents understand how to best do this. Otherwise, we will lose more of our young people. Our statistics will come out, and I do not think they would have decreased.
So you're saying it will cost lives? Simple.
Yes, they will.
And Australia's got it wrong. That you're saying that as well. With Australia's gone ahead with this ban, they've got it wrong too.
Australia's definitely got it wrong. I'll tell you now, the amount of under 16-year-olds that are still messaging me from Australia with the ban in head, they don't have the technology either yet to stop young people from going on social media. I just don't think that there's been enough thought through, and I think that 100% parents are afraid, and that is so understandable. But I don't think that the ban in Australia is going to be the best move, and I think time will tell that.
And you think the parents behind Before 16, because they are parents, you think they're scared and they're just acting out of fear and they don't know what they're doing?
I definitely think that they're really afraid, and I think that's a rightful place to be. But I also think that the specific group that are behind before 16, that you know, there's not a lot of communication. What it seems like with minorities and with people that social media has helped, and I think there's a lot of fear mongering as well that's going on. So I do think every parent wants what's best for their child, but I do not think what is best for your individual child necessarily should be law for every child across New Zealand.
And what is some tips for parents, who are scared from you, Jazz, in terms of helping their children deal with phones and social media, their children under 16?
I honestly think one of the best things you can do is to literally be having the conversations with your young people. There's no one that knows social media better than your young person. And if you are willing to have the conversations with them, and, we've got schools currently reaching out to us, asking us to do community events to help parents as well, to reach out to organizations. And hopefully, if we can get better education, and, there are restrictions that you can put in place. I don't think kids should have phones in the bedroom at night. There are kind of things that you can put in place to be able to help there. And if you don't know what to do, it is okay to ask for help. We tell your kids that all the time. But as a parent, you can ask for help. And just talk to your kids. They'll be able to tell you what's happening on there and how you can probably support them in that.
And yeah, I'll let you go, Jazz, because you got a class full of people to go and talk to, a school full of people to talk to. But you don't think kids should have their phones in their rooms at night. That's a pretty big tip from Jazz Thornton.
Yeah, I think that that's where a lot of parents say their biggest concern is the kids are just scrolling at night. And I do think that's where, they can be looking up a whole bunch of different things. But I think to me, it's a practical thing that parents can do if they're worried about their child's sleep and they're not actively being able to see them when they're on social media. Then, get the old school alarm clock in their rooms and take phones out, let them charge in the kitchen overnight, and then get them again in the morning.
Sure. Okay, Jazz. Well, thank you very much. And Jazz, is there anything for you to disclose? Do you work for TikTok or anything like that? These sorts of questions are coming up for everybody at the moment.
No, I do not work for them at all. I've definitely done events with them, and obviously I'm a social media creator, so I do paid campaigns. But I will tell you now, I would be the first person to jump on a ban if I genuinely thought it was going to help our kids' mental health. This is what I've dedicated my life to. And at first I thought this ban is, yes, let's do it. But the more that I spoke to our young people, I realized that it's not going to help them. So no, not paid associated with TikTok, with Meta or anything like that.
And just finally, Jazz, you dealt with a mental health crisis in our health system just last week with a young person, didn't you, in terms of, and just tell us briefly about that, because that shows how bad things are.
Yeah, absolutely. A young person spent 46 hours in the emergency department waiting to get a bed in the mental health unit. They were deemed a danger to themselves, that they were likely going to take their lives. And there are beds in this unit. It's a 46-bed unit that was announced in 2015. Only 35 beds are being used. So she had to sit in the emergency department for 46 hours while someone else was forced discharged, which they should not have been, in order for her to get a bed. What's known in the mental health system as a one in, one out policy, which is absolutely ridiculous. She's managed to now get a bed and is starting to receive help. But yeah, that's our system for you. 46 hours in ED for someone who is actively wanting to take their lives.
Jazz Thornton, thank you for your time, and thank you once again for your mahi with our young people. Thank you, Jazz.
Thank you for having me.